let's talk about Vietnam. I want to talk to you today about some unique places to visit in Vietnam. Now, this isn't going to feature Halong Bay, Hanoi, Hoi An, Ho Chi Minh City. While these are all great places, there are plenty more spots to visit in Vietnam. I just spent 2 weeks in the country, travelled from south to north, and I tried my best to visit some less visited places by tourists. These aren't super off the beaten track places. They're not places that don't see any tourists. You still will find tourists, you'll find guest houses, you'll find hostels, but they are some really special places that I think deserve some more recognition. Vietnam is wonderful. Halong Bay is wonderful. I'm not the biggest fan of Hoi An, but I do see its charm. The cities are great, but as it was my 4th time there, I kind of wanted to see something different. And like I say, I really think these spots deserve some recognition, and they are definite great additions to your Vietnam itinerary. Now, haven't scripted this video. Also, it's very likely that my camera's going to run out of battery because it's on 12%. But let's roll with it and we'll see how we go. So, as I travelled from south to north on my last trip to Vietnam, we're going to go from south to north in this video. So we're starting our list of unique places to visit in Vietnam at the very bottom. Well, not the very bottom actually, I lied. We're not by the sea. We're in the city of Can Tho. This is actually the 4th biggest city in Vietnam. It's on the Mekong Delta. It's known by some people to be the capital of the Mekong Delta, and it's a great place to enjoy the tropical river life. There's floating markets, there's a dry market. It's a really beautiful spot, and the main attraction is just soaking in the beauty of it. It's really wonderful. I highly recommend spending a few days in Can Tho, especially if you're looking for somewhere to chill out and unwind for a bit. I stayed in Boutique Lodge Can Tho, which was amazing. Probably the best homestay I've ever stayed in. The host was lovely, the food was amazing, and it was in a beautiful location. I'll include a link to it down below. The next amazing, unique place to visit in Vietnam is the city of Đà Lạt. Now this is also great for nature, but a very different type of nature. It's in the mountains. It's a lot cooler than everywhere else in surrounding Vietnam, which is lovely. It's known for its produce. It grows coffee, it grows mushrooms, it grows all sorts. There's waterfalls, there are mountains to trek in. I took a motorbike tour and went around lots of nature areas around the city, which was really, really good. Really unique experience.
Or 65 degree.
65%?
Yes. Yeah, 65% of angle.
I don't think I can do it. I stayed at Beginning Homestay while I was in Đà Lạt, and that was another really great homestay with fantastic hosts. As we go further up, next on the list is the Ho Chi Minh Trail. It was used in the Vietnamese War, and it actually goes through Laos and Cambodia as well. But nowadays, it's sealed road. You can drive down it on a motorbike, or I did another motorbike tour where I sat on the back of someone's bike and see the historic trail. You can learn about the war. It's a really great place to learn about Vietnam's history. The next unique place to visit in Vietnam is the Hai Van Pass. This is spectacular. It's just north of the city of Da Nang, and you see some of the most epic ocean scenery in Southeast Asia. It's really, really something special. Again, it's normally done on a motorbike. If you don't feel comfortable riding a motorbike, or if you haven't ridden one before, I really wouldn't recommend riding one for the first time here. You can do another tour where you get on the back of someone's bike. That's how I did it. I won't ride a bike in Vietnam, I'm terrified. So we're on the Hai Van Pass and this is the amazing view behind me. It's so pretty. I can see why Top Gear love it so much. The last amazing, unique place to visit in Vietnam that at least I visited on this trip is the Phong Nha Cave. This is, well, I say the Phong Nha Cave. It's actually, the village is called Phong Nha. There is a cave called Phong Nha Cave. There are so many caves there. There's the biggest cave in the world, the second biggest cave in the world. Most of the biggest caves in the world are here. You can't go in the biggest cave in the world. It is only accessible by tour. The tours cost about $3,000 and they sell out faster than Beyonce tickets. But you can go in plenty of other caves, they don't cost as much, like nowhere near as much, don't worry, like your backpacker budget can afford them, and you don't need to buy tickets and they don't sell out faster than Beyonce tickets. But they're still well worth going to. I'm in a hostel recording this and there's the sound of running water that's not stopping. I was waiting for it to stop, but it's not stopping, so we're doing the rest of the video like this. As you go further north, Ninh Binh is also well worth visiting. It's known as the Halong Bay on land and it has some beautiful scenery. I haven't been to it, but Cat Ba Island is also meant to be spectacular. There's the Ha Giang Loop, which again I haven't done. This is right in the north of Vietnam, north of Hanoi and close to the border with China. Also meant to be spectacular. It's on my travel bucket list. Towards the Lao border, there is a region called Moc Chau, which I did go to. I couldn't really make the most of it because I can't ride a bike. I'm scared of riding a bike and I couldn't find, well, I got a driver in a car for a day, but I feel like you kind of need to ride a bike to see it there and it's very, very non-touristy. I didn't see any other tourists when I was there. But it is well worth checking out, especially if you are confident riding a bike. As I mentioned, if you're not confident riding a bike or if you haven't got experience riding a bike, please don't start here. Or like at least start somewhere sensible and get some good practice first. That is the wise thing to do. And of course, I'll just mention the other places that are worth visiting in Vietnam. These are the more touristy places, but they are still worth visiting, especially if it's your first time in Vietnam. So these are Sapa for hiking and rice terraces, Hanoi, which is the capital, there's loads going on there, Halong Bay, which is the UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's probably the most famous attraction in Vietnam. It's touristy, but it's amazing, it's epic, it's bucket list worthy. Then there's Hue, which is the old capital, and it has an imperial citadel. It's well worth checking out. It's really historic and it's really interesting. There's Da Nang, which is a new city. There are beaches there. It's a cool city. It's a cool place to hang out. Hoi An, which, as I mentioned, isn't my favourite place in Vietnam, but go, make your own mind up. So many people love it. I just don't really understand it, but hey ho. Nha Trang, which is another beachy place. There are mud baths there, which are really fun. I had a great time in the mud bath. That was a bit of a weird sentence, but no, it's good fun. And then further south, there's Ho Chi Minh City, which is really popular. Again, there's quite a lot to do there. I preferred Hanoi. People normally prefer one or the other, but well worth checking out. There are the Cu Chi tunnels there, which are really interesting and more war history. There's also a war museum, which is interesting. And the city is very modern. There's some quite interesting attractions and it's quite a contrast to Hanoi. And right at the bottom, there's the island of Phu Quoc. I think that's how you say it, or is it Phu Quoc? One or the other. And yeah, that's really cool as well. Tropical island. I haven't been, but I've heard good things. And lots of people go there on holiday and spend the whole time in Phu Quoc. So I'm sure it's good. Again, it's on my list of places to check out when I make it back to Vietnam, which I'm sure won't be too long because it is amazing country. So that is going to conclude this video. Sorry about the sound of running water like halfway through, but this is hostel life for you, I guess. If you're going to video in hostels, then you've got to account for some interruptions sometimes. I hope this has been helpful for you for planning your trip to Vietnam. I actually wrote a huge Vietnam itinerary. It was like 10,000 words long. I excel in writing ridiculously long itineraries. So please do check that out. There's everything you need to know there. There's tour advice, there's hotel advice, There's travel advice. There's basically all you need for planning a trip to Vietnam in there. So that will be linked down below. Do check it out. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like, give it a comment if you've got anything to say. I'm currently overlanding from Bali to London without flying, and I would love it if you followed me on this journey. Thank you. Bye.